Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of First Time Watch Fridays here on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and so this is the last episode before we take a 1 month break, and then we'll be back to do more, and I'll talk about that at the end of the episode. But for now, we are going to talk about the 2003 film. Let me grab it. Descendant. It's not Descendants, which technically it should be Descendants because I think they're both supposedly descendants of Edgar Allan Poe, um, his family and everything. Um, this movie's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. I I don't know. This is one of those movies where I've talked about it before, where I was super excited to see it someday because I would see it at my movie theater or my movie store that I used to work at. And I would, 'cause 2003 when it came out on DVD, I was still working there. And I would go around and look at all these different movies, either in the new release rack or, horror or whatever. And I would say, oh, that looks interesting. But I would never pick it up or rent it. And so this was a first time watch. Like I'd never seen this movie before. I thought maybe I had, and then when I watched it, nothing came back. Like if I had, this was like something that I just totally blocked out of my memory. So it was pretty much a first time watch. I had no idea what was going to go on. With that being said, the story was pretty lame. I'll get into that. So basically, Ethan Poe is this um douchey writer guy played by Jeremy London who is sort of the first scene he's like with a hooker, and he keeps talking about lap dancing. I'm like, they're kind of mixing hookers with strippers, I'm guessing. But anyway, so he's with like a very costly hooker who is you know, having some fun with them, and then later you find out that she died in the town. And he's visiting this town. Um, you find out later he has this agenda to get creativity for his writing by I guess hooking up and falling in love with a one of the other descendants, so I guess he knew she was there in the town, and she knew he was coming to the town to do some kind of speech, I guess. And then they end up hooking up and falling in love and, all that stuff. But there's something a little off with him. And it's really interesting because apparently the drug that they used was like clozapam, and that was like, obviously meant for his delusional thoughts and everything like that. And he apparently is talking constantly to Poe himself. So Poe shows up, played by Ari Verveen. There's also this sort of love triangle thing going on between Katherine Heighl, who's the other descendant, and Nick Stabile. I don't know, Stabile. I don't know how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry, Nick. Um, who happens to be the sh town deputy, which I'm like, why didn't they just make him a sheriff? But I guess he was too young. But you never really see the sheriff. And he's always talking to the doctor, played by William Katt, where I would imagine he'd be talking more to like the chief or the captain or another detective, sergeant, somebody else. But like he's the deputy. Like it sort of was a very confusing. I saw a review of it on IMDb where somebody was like, Uh, they must have made this movie in like a day, and that's how it really feels like. Like it feels like it's just sort of very confusing and sort of, you know, bad. Um, but with that being said, the movie does fly by pretty freaking quickly. Mainly because like so much stuff happens, but like nothing at all happens. Like by the end of the movie it's just is what it is, and it's not even like I don't even care anymore. Mm. So Katherine Heigl at this time in her career had been doing a lot of like cheap, really bad horror films. I think it all started with her doing Bride of Chucky, which was a big one. And then a lot of other horror films when I cast, somebody after they've been in a big horror film. So she just kind of went down this rabbit hole of bad horror films and whatnot. And this was one of them. And the there's two directors on the film, so that might also be why it's a little confusing too. When two directors take over, now I'm not saying all all co-directors are bad ideas, but generally speaking, when two directors are involved, misinformation gets, you know, gets thrown out, and at some point, it they both don't have the same vision, so it's just like a mixture of both visions. And I think that was a really big part of this movie is like it felt like two different movies that they tried to make, and it didn't work. Um, my other my other thing with it was that it was kind of cool that they used like the fall of the House of Usher as sort of like a backdrop to a lot of the stuff, but like it was very confusing on that stuff, and I feel like they didn't explain enough. And so I'm just like watching it going, what is going on here? Like who what why, and you find out later that the agent of his is his mother, and she kisses him on the lips, which not too keen on that. Just think that's a little weird. Um, it might have meant made for the movie. I mean, the movie already, the character was a little off his rocker, but I was just like, I don't know, like there was just too much weird shit that happened, and it that almost didn't even make sense. That oh, by the way, there's a really pet peeve of mine that happened in the movie, which was that at one point her brother attacks or gets attacked by I'm guessing it was definitely Jeremy London, and he threw uh the brother down the hill, like he died, you know, and everything, and he like disappeared. He never returned, and I thought, oh, okay, he just got rid of his body. Apparently, he had been gone for days because his work ass called him up and said, "Hey, I haven't seen, my brother in forever, blah blah blah, or your brother in forever, blah blah blah. Where is he?" And she's like, "Well, if he shows up, I'll definitely let him know that you guys are asking for him." Later, he shows up, like, and he says some line about, basically making sure he's, dead or whatever. And I was like the whole time going, okay, so he's been what, hiding in the woods for days, and nobody has seen him, like what? Like I didn't get any of that. Like I thought that was just to have the scene where, just, when they were writing it, they were like, okay, how are we going to explain that this happens? Oh, well, let's just bring the brother back. and then he can come in and distract things for a second. You know what I mean? Like there was no other explanation as to why, and there was no it felt like very sloppy. This whole movie felt sloppy. I was really disappointed by it. The other thing I was really disappointed by is they had a dog, and the dog was killed by the killer, by Jeremy London. And you don't see the dog get killed, but you see him dead and hanging or whatever, and just made me sad like that. We don't need that. Like what what really, that this guy's really that fucked up that he's gonna go and kill a dog too. I mean, if he's gonna go and kill a hooker, he's gonna, like I don't need to see that. I always view scenes like that as we're just trying to shock the audience and not that because the dog, other than you see the dog earlier, be, like running with the two people. Other than that, the dog had no point to the movie. The dog wasn't barking. The dog wasn't, whatever. So it just seemed a little unnecessarily nasty. And I don't like movies like that. Like that just turns me off. If I weren't reviewing this movie and I was just watching it, I would have turned it off at that point because I really don't like that. Like there has to be a point like let me take for example the movie Fear with Mark Wahlberg. There is a scene where like he puts a dog's head through a doggy hole. It was for an intimidation tactic of like, and because the guy is really fucked up. It worked for me as far as like, that goes. Um, this doesn't work for me. This just seemed unnecessarily nasty, and I didn't enjoy that. So all in all, though, yeah, the movie was pretty bad. The movie didn't have the greatest stuff. Like the direction was pretty bad. The cinematography was okay, I guess. Like nothing to scream home about. No really cool shots or anything that I've ever, seen different. And then, but the music, like the score was great. However, the random rock music and stuff, and what was this, like there's this scene where the deputy is looking around and he ends up being like there's this loud rock music that just takes over the scene, and it's not giving me any kind of like suspense or anything. It's just sort of obnoxiously there, and it was so loud, and I had to literally turn my TV down because it was so loud because it was much higher than the regular volume for the thing. Now, I don't know if that was York Entertainment who did that, like if that was like their problem, or if it was just terrible uh editing in their part um for it, but editing was weird. Um, and I guess this goes along with the writing too, but like scenes sort of just kind of came and then just another scene came, then another scene came. There was like it at some points it felt like this was just like weird. Like what was the whole this just I don't know. And then um the one of the scenes I really didn't like I thought was only there for some of the quote unquote nudity in the film is the bar scene. First of all, you're gonna have if you're gonna like hook up with somebody, you're not gonna hook them up like in the back of a bar room. Would be my guess. Like that would just be too, especially when the girl's date is there still, and it make no sense. And then so the date gets into the fight with John, and I got really confused because there's two Johns listed on IMDb, but I'm not sure. Like, I was like, is that the deputy? And I'm like, is the deputy fighting some random guy having a bar fight? Like, wouldn't the deputy get in some serious freaking trouble and everything? Like, I mean, get yelled to by his captain, and if that's the case, I would love to see that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, I guess they didn't have enough, stuff for, captains or whatever. You can get some dude in a suit and have him say, I'm the captain, you gotta come see me, kind of thing. But, and in fact, I would have liked William Katt, who was the co-writer. I think he also produced and he starred as the doctor. I would love to see him be love to see him be the captain. It would have been better than the doctor because the doctor's only use really was to die to talk about the pill and then for some reason go see them at the house and not kind of tell this guy is like mentally not there and not be able to protect himself. Like that just didn't make any sense. Um, so yeah, would I recommend this movie? Um, Probably not. You're probably not recommended necessarily. I can't tell you not to ever watch a movie. If this movie sounds like something that you and they did set it up where it could have been a sequel, there could have been a sequel, but I hope not. I hope they kind of learned their lesson from it and moved on to something else. But all in all, it was pretty bad. And um I just can't recommend it. So if you see this on like Tubi or something and you want to try it out, it is not on Tubi right now. I don't think any of York Entertainment's films are on Tubi. Like I said, this is York Entertainment, and that's the main reason I bought it. Plus because of the names. I mean, who doesn't want to see Katherine Heigl and Jeremy London and Nick Stabile and Matt Farnsworth and Ari Vereen and William Katt? Like, who doesn't want to see all of them? But all in all, it was just okay. I mean, it was pretty bad. Like, it was not what I would ever classify as a good, horror film. I just think it was sort of like it tried too hard, and I think it failed. And I really almost believe it was just made in a day. I mean, it should have been called Descendants. Later, Disney had a whole thing called Descendants, so I don't know if those were around the same time, period or not. I think the Descendants was later, the Disney one. So, but like that was a better idea, than the Descendants of Edgar Allan Poe. Um, yeah, just if you see this for like $1 or something, buy it. It won't be a terrible thing in your collection. I'm gonna keep it. I mean, I'm not gonna. It's something I probably might watch again with somebody else just to show them like sort of how not to make a movie. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend this if you really just are just interested in watching something good. Um, so with that being said, thank you guys so much for checking this out. I will be back next well, we'll have another episode next week. Not next week, next month. In late August, there will be the start of me doing it with someone else. That sounds really weird. But yeah, I will be with a guest and we will be doing episodes where we'll be reviewing first time watches for both of us. So I'm really excited. We've already started recording some of them, so they'll be ready to go starting at the end of the month. But until then, I just want to say thank you guys for checking this out and hope you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you haven't gotten a chance to yet, and let us know what you guys think. Until then, bye.